The SEAL compound at Fallon Range, Nevada, was one of those places the world pretended didn't exist. A training ground for ghosts, men who were never supposed to be seen, names never meant to be spoken. Inside, the scent of gun oil and desert dust hung in the air like a memory that refused to fade. Commander Blake Riker had been through enough to tell when something was off. The rhythm of a military base was predictable, the same shuffle of boots, the same clang of metal, the same code words whispered between professionals. But that afternoon, as he walked into the weapons bay, something stopped him cold. There, under the hum of fluorescent lights, stood a woman in a gray janitor's uniform. Her hair was tied back in a loose knot, a few strands streaked with silver. She was cleaning the massive Barrett .50 cal sniper rifle, not just wiping its surface, but disassembling it with the kind of care only someone who knew the weapon would show. Riker's boots hit the concrete hard as he strode toward her. "Hey, step away from that rifle." The woman didn't even look up. Her hands continued working, pin out, bolt forward, chamber clean. Smooth, efficient, like muscle memory. "I said," he started, but stopped when she finally spoke. "It's dirty," she said calmly, her voice steady, low, and almost gentle. "Dust in the chamber will jam it, especially in desert crosswinds." Her tone wasn't defensive, it was matter of fact, like she was correcting a rookie, not responding to a commander's threat. Riker frowned. "Who the hell authorized you to touch that weapon?" She finally looked up, gray eyes meeting his. They were unreadable, neither fearful nor arrogant, just aware. "No one," she said softly. "But whoever's using it next shouldn't die because of poor maintenance." Riker blinked. Civilians weren't supposed to even look at weapons like that, much less strip and clean one. The Barrett .50 wasn't a simple rifle, it was a beast that could take down vehicles, pierce armor, and reach targets over 2 miles away. Even half the SEALs struggled to handle it properly. He studied her face more carefully now. She looked mid-30s, maybe early 40s. Her hands bore faint scars, not random ones, but straight, deliberate, surgical. Someone who had seen combat or weapon accidents. "What's your name?" he demanded. "Evelyn," she said, snapping the bolt back into place with a clean, satisfying click. "Evelyn Ross." "Ross," he repeated, searching his memory. "Nothing. She wasn't on any SEAL records or support rosters." He stepped closer. "You know that handling military-grade sniper rifles without clearance can get you thrown out of this facility in cuffs." "Wouldn't be the first time someone tried," she murmured. Riker paused, watching as she began reassembling the weapon with almost tender precision. Every motion was exact, no hesitation, no wasted movement. He'd seen men clean rifles for 20 years and still lack that kind of discipline. "Where'd you learn to do that?" he asked, his voice lowering slightly. Evelyn's lips curved faintly. "Long story," she said, handing him the rifle, barrel gleaming, stock polished, chamber spotless. "But this one's good to go." Riker hesitated before taking it. "You ever fire one of these?" She looked at him steadily. "A few times." "Range distance?" Her answer came after a pause. 3,347 meters. "Wind out of the west, 10 knots. Night op, partial moonlight." Riker froze. That wasn't a random number, that was precision. That was the language of snipers, not janitors. And 3,347 meters, that was beyond even the confirmed record for most U.S. marksmen. Only a handful of shooters in the world could claim a hit at that distance. He stared at her. "You're telling me you've made a kill at over 3 kilometers? Evelyn didn't reply. She just reached for her cleaning rag and began packing up her tools. "Answer me," Riker demanded, his voice tightening. She looked at him then, not with fear, but with a calm that made his pulse slow. "I'm telling you I've made a shot at that distance. What it hit, that's another story." Riker studied her for another moment before turning toward the door. "Stay right here," he ordered. "I'm checking your file." She gave a small, almost tired smile. "You won't find one." By the time he returned 10 minutes later, holding a tablet loaded with personnel data, she was gone. Her cleaning card was still there, mop, gloves, even the half-full spray bottle. But Evelyn Ross had vanished. Riker's jaw tightened. He wasn't easily rattled, but something about that woman gnawed at him. You didn't just guess a record kill distance. You didn't clean a Barrett like that unless you'd lived behind the scope. Later that evening, he pulled up old classified records through a back-channel connection, something he wasn't supposed to do without authorization. The screen flickered with old data, blacked out sections, redacted names. But one entry caught his eye. Ross, Evelyn M., former U.S. Army, Long Range Recon Group. Status: deceased 2017. Specialty: Extreme Range Engagement Specialist. Confirmed kills: 98. Longest shot: 3,347 meters. Riker leaned back in his chair, the hum of the base generators echoing in the silence. Deceased. Yet she was here, walking the corridors of his SEAL compound, cleaning rifles like she'd never left the field. He didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. His mind kept circling back to the calm in her voice, the precision in her movements. Whoever Evelyn Ross was, or had been, she wasn't some cleaning contractor. She was a ghost from a war nobody talked about. The next morning, Riker ordered surveillance footage from the armory. Hours of video scrolled past, men in fatigues, weapon checks, nothing unusual. But then, at 16:08, there she was. Evelyn Ross, carrying a cleaning bucket. She looked directly at the camera before stepping out of frame. And then, static. The feed glitched for 10 full seconds before resuming. When it came back, she was gone. Riker rubbed his jaw. "Who the hell are you?" he muttered under his breath. Later that day, as his team prepared for their desert range trials, Riker noticed something odd. The Barrett .50 they'd tested the day before, the one Evelyn had cleaned, was performing perfectly. Every shot landed tighter, sharper. The recoil balance had been fine-tuned. "She's got the hand of a surgeon," one SEAL remarked. Riker didn't reply, but as he sighted down the range, something glinted at the far-off ridge line. A shimmer of light, maybe from optics. And then, crack, a target at 3,300 meters shattered clean in half. A perfect center hit. Every head turned toward Riker. But he hadn't fired. No one had. He grabbed his scope, scanned the ridge, and there, just for a second, he thought he saw her. Evelyn Ross, standing tall in the dust, Barrett resting at her side. Then the wind shifted, and she was gone again. Riker lowered the scope slowly, his heart thudding. Whatever this woman's past was, it wasn't finished. And somehow, fate had brought her right back into the SEAL's world. He didn't know why, but he intended to find out. 3 nights later, Commander Blake Riker sat in the mission control room, watching satellite feeds from the Mojave testing range. The room was dim, humming with the low static of radios and the faint glow of green screens. His men were running live drills with night vision, precision firing, tactical advancement, close-quarter breach simulations. Everything was routine. Everything should have been routine. But that wasn't what Riker was watching. His eyes were locked on a single thermal dot, nearly 3 kilometers north of the training grid, a lone figure moving against the desert wind. The same spot where that impossible shot had been fired days earlier. He leaned forward. "Magnify Sector 6. The tech obeyed, zooming the satellite feed until the pixels sharpened into a clear silhouette, a person lying prone on the ridge, barely visible, wrapped in desert gray camouflage. And beside her, unmistakable even in the grainy view, the Barrett .50. Riker's stomach tightened. "Sir, that sector's restricted. Nobody's cleared out there," the tech said nervously. "Keep this feed to yourself," Riker ordered quietly. Not a word to anyone. He turned and left the room without another word. Within minutes, he was in his Humvee, tearing across the desert road under a moonless sky, dust kicking up behind him. The vehicle's headlights were off. He didn't want to announce his arrival. When he reached the ridge, the air was cold, the kind of sharp desert chill that made every sound echo. Riker climbed the slope slowly, every instinct in him alert. Halfway up, he heard it, the low, controlled breathing of someone aiming down a scope. He froze. "You've got 2 seconds to tell me who you are before I call in an entire SEAL unit," he said, his voice steady but tense. No reply, just silence. Then, a whisper. "You'll spook them, Commander." Riker frowned. "Spook who?" Evelyn Ross shifted slightly, her face half lit by the starlight. "2 vehicles, 10 clicks east. They're testing range infiltration routes. But they're not ours." He pulled his binoculars up and scanned the horizon. Sure enough, faint movement flickered beyond the dunes, unmarked trucks, moving low, lights off, just like she said. "Who the hell are they?" he asked. "Private contractors. Hired guns," she said, still peering through her scope. "Same ones that took down my old unit 8 years ago." Riker froze. "Your file said you were killed in action." Evelyn's expression didn't change. "It's what they wanted everyone to believe. Easier to bury the truth if the witness doesn't exist." He crouched beside her. What truth? She finally turned her head, and for the first time, Riker saw the haunted look in her eyes, not fear, not guilt, but the kind of quiet grief that lives deep in soldiers who've seen too much. They weren't foreign insurgents, she said softly. They were Americans, mercenaries working under a false flag op. They executed my team after using us to eliminate a village they claimed was harboring hostiles. But the intel was fake. It was civilians. Riker felt the weight of her words like a punch to the gut. In the 3,347-meter shot, he asked. Evelyn's eyes flicked back to her scope. My CO. He gave the order. I took the shot before he could kill the only survivor, a little girl. Her voice broke slightly. That was the last bullet I fired, until now. For a moment, the desert was silent except for the faint whine of wind. Those trucks out there, she continued. Same unit, same insignia hidden under civilian gear. They're moving supplies, testing how close they can get to bases like yours without triggering detection. They're not training, Commander. They're preparing. Preparing for what? She exhaled slowly. To make sure no one ever talks. Riker's jaw clenched. His mind was racing. If what she said was true, this wasn't just some ghost from a dead file. This was a live conspiracy running under the Navy's nose. Before he could speak again, Evelyn's finger twitched slightly on the trigger. Wind 5 degrees east, she murmured. Elevation 2 notches up. Riker followed her line of sight. One of the trucks had stopped, a figure stepping out with night vision goggles. He raised a comms mic to his lips. Base, this is Commander Riker, lock satellite on coordinates. Evelyn's voice cut through him. No time. Crack. The rifle thundered like rolling thunder across the desert. 3 seconds later, the target dropped, a perfect headshot. The rest of the convoy erupted in chaos, headlights flashing on, engines revving. Riker stared. How the hell did you? Math and muscle memory, she said, ejecting the shell. The rest will scatter. Not if we stop them. She looked at him, and for the first time, there was a hint of something alive in her eyes, purpose. Then let's finish this. Together, they moved like a shadow unit. Riker called in a minimal response team while Evelyn guided them through the dunes using terrain no map could capture. By the time backup arrived, 3 of the 4 trucks were disabled, tires blown out, drivers disarmed. When the team pulled off the covers, the crates inside weren't weapons. They were hard drives, data caches labeled, property of DoD internal ops, eyes only. Riker's stomach dropped. Looks like your ghost story's real, he muttered. Evelyn gave a small, tired smile. I told you, Commander. I don't miss. 2 days later, Washington was burning up with quiet panic. The operation was buried before it ever saw daylight, the files sealed under multiple clearances. But one thing had changed. Evelyn Ross was no longer a ghost. Riker found her again on the edge of the airstrip, sitting on an ammo crate as dawn broke over the desert. The Barrett lay beside her, gleaming in the first light. You could have vanished again, he said, walking up to her. I almost did, she admitted. But I think I'm done hiding. He nodded. There's a place for you here. If you want it. Training unit. Long-range mentorship. She looked at him, a faint, tired smile on her lips. A SEAL commander offering a ghost a job. You're getting soft, he smirked. Just smart enough to know when I'm standing next to a legend. For a long moment, they stood in silence, the wind rolling across the tarmac. Finally, she said quietly, I didn't survive that shot to disappear again. Maybe it's time someone taught these boys that distance doesn't matter, focus does. Riker nodded. Welcome back to the fight, Ross. She reached down, picked up the Barrett, and slung it over her shoulder with the ease of someone born to carry it. As she walked toward the horizon, the rising sun turned the desert gold, and for the first time in years, Evelyn Ross wasn't running from her past. She was walking right through it, one step at a time, carrying a weapon that had once been her burden, now her redemption. And somewhere deep in the silence, Riker knew one thing for sure, if Evelyn Ross was back on the field, then whoever thought they could bury the truth was about to meet the most accurate reckoning on Earth. Because ghosts don't die, they aim.